Hello everyone, and welcome. My name is Sam, and whenever I mention to people the fact that I play D&D, I often get the question, what is D&D exactly? Usually that's followed by some reference to pop culture like, oh, that's the game they play on that show Stranger Things, right? And yes, it is, but conveying what D&D truly is takes a lot more than a few passing references on a TV show. Today, I decided to create this video to help answer those questions at the very basic level of what D&D is. So, whether you're here to get a better understanding of what is Dungeons & Dragons, or you're hoping to share this video with somebody who might be curious, and hopefully get them into the game as well, I hope you find this video helpful. What D&D really is at its core is a cooperative and creative storytelling game that uses weirdly shaped dice to determine the outcomes of player decisions. Now, usually, there are anywhere between 3 to 5 players sitting at the table, along with the Dungeon Master, which we'll call the DM. Now, I've heard of 1-player games, and I personally have run a 10-player game, so that number can vary quite a bit. But usually 4 or 5 is the optimal number of players that you'll have at the table. And then there is the Dungeon Master, the DM. Now the DM runs the show. They handle everything behind the scenes. They determine what monsters the players might fight. They determine what non-player characters they might interact with, often portraying them with in-character voices or personalities to give them a unique flavor in the world. The Dungeon Master determines what rolls the players need on their dice to succeed or fail on an outcome of a decision that they've made, or in combat. And they have the responsibility and immensely fun task of creating the world around the players. Now, sometimes this world can come from a book or a pre-written module where you simply have to read the book. It's all laid out for you. You don't have to create it. But for those that want to, you can make your own world. You can populate it with your own monsters, your own people, the stuff that you want the players to experience, and then drop them into this world and let them play. Let them make decisions and roam around and change and shift the story based on the outcomes of those decisions. It's sort of like writing a book on the fly based on what the players do. It's more difficult, admittedly, than being a player, but just as rewarding. I personally think more rewarding to be the Dungeon Master, to be the one making this experience for your friends. Now, for their part, the players get to choose their character and every aspect about them. They can choose what race they want them to be, whether they want them to be human. You are human, right? Or something more fantastical. You can be an elf. You can be a dwarf. You can be a halfling, a half-elf, a half-orc. Or any number of less common races. Tieflings, sort of a humanoid with demonic heritage. Or the opposite of that, an Aasimar, a humanoid with angelic heritage. You can be a dragonborn with draconic blood flowing through your veins, or you can be a half-giant Goliath with gray skin towering above all of your companions. And this is only to name a few of the options. Then you get to choose a class. This is where the options get really in-depth. You can choose to be a mighty paladin sent on a holy quest to save the realm, or a sneaky rogue who picks locks and disarms traps and strikes from the shadows. Or a raging barbarian whose berserk charges are the stuff of legend. A powerful wizard who uses dangerous magics to dispatch their foes. And many, many, many more. There are options within options within options of player class. Now don't let that intimidate you. Your player can be as simple or complicated as you want them to be. It can be a very long, detailed backstory telling how your character came to be where they are. Or it can just be a collection of numbers and abilities on your character sheet. Now, once the players are in the world that the DM has laid out before them, that's where they can do pretty much anything they want to do in this imaginary space. Most of the time, the players know roughly the direction the story is going, and sometimes it's more fun to just play along. But many DMs will let the players explore, roam, have side quests and adventures, and make decisions that maybe aren't part of the main story, but sometimes those can be far more fun and lead to many more stories. That's not to say you should derail your DM's campaign, because they're putting a lot of work into this for you, and you should probably at least play along a little bit. But sometimes these side adventures are the fun part of D&D. If you want to go hunt down the local bandits that are harassing trade caravans, you can do that. If you want to go seek out monsters to claim a trophy for yourself, you can do that. If you want to go to the local cave where there's rumored to be a dragon, so you can either fight it or perhaps barter with it to help overthrow a tyrannical king, you can do that. The scope of what's possible is only limited by the imagination of the players and the dungeon master. And sadly, the amount of time that you have to play Dungeons and Dragons. Typical sessions last somewhere between 2 to 4 hours, which, trust me, seems like no time at all once you're sitting at the table and you're fully engrossed in the story laid out in front of you. But some people choose to play longer marathon sessions that can last anywhere between 5 to 8 hours or longer. And some people choose to play far shorter sessions, but just play them more often. You can usually do this anywhere from once a week. More would be nice, but sadly we all have real lives and jobs. We gotta pay rent, we gotta pay the bills. Or you can play less often. Once a month for maybe a longer session is quite common. A lot of people do that. Or even less often, you can just play a one-shot adventure. A simple one-off scenario that your dungeon master throws out for you, and you and your friends have to complete this particular encounter. It's quick, it's easy, and there's no long-term commitments to an ongoing campaign. The point is, you can choose the style of play that suits your group. You don't have to commit to a 2-year-long campaign, which I've played in, and those are the most fun. But that's not a necessity just to get your foot in the door of D&D. At the end of the day, I strongly recommend D&D to anybody who hasn't experienced it yet. And I say experienced because that's really what it is. It's an experience. Dungeons and Dragons is something that can forge new friendships, strengthen old ones, and give everybody at the table memories that will literally last a lifetime. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and I will do my very best to address them in a future video. If you have any suggestions for future videos, especially regarding Dungeons & Dragons, feel free to leave those too. I really look forward to reading what you all have to say. I hope that this video has helped inspire or at least answered a few of those more basic questions about what is Dungeons and Dragons. It's something that you really can't fully comprehend until you sit down and play it. But it's just important that everybody remembers it's not as intimidating as it might look from the outside. It's a very open, welcoming, fun, friendly, and more simple than you might think game. Please feel free to share this video with those friends of yours who might not yet know the joys of Dungeons and Dragons. And please be sure to hit that subscribe button for more quality content, advice, stories, and other videos coming to you on a regular basis. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.